The spaceship Aurora 17 floated quietly above a dead planet, its surface dry and cracked like old bones. Pilot Michael Rayner stared at his monitor with narrowed eyes. A strange signal blinked in the corner of his screen, slow and weak, but real. It came from one of the planet's tiny moons, an uncharted rock no one cared about. The year was 2036, and no human had ever been near that system. So why was there an Earth signal coming from there? Michael leaned closer, adjusting the receiver. The signal was old. Very old. It was in Morse code, something most people didn't even use anymore. He wrote down the letters as they came in. Amelia. Then it repeated. Over and over, his breath caught. Amelia, he whispered. Could it be? Could this be a message connected to Amelia Earhart, the pilot who vanished almost a century ago? Michael called his team. Captain Reyes, I think you need to see this, he said. Captain Reyes stepped in. Tall and tired from a long patrol shift, she looked at the message, then at Michael. Are you playing with ghost stories again? She asked with a dry smile. I'm serious, Michael said. This is coming from that moon. He pointed at the dull gray dot on the screen. It's repeating the name Amelia, using Earth's Morse code, and there's no reason for that to be happening out here. She didn't laugh this time. Instead, she stared at the screen, silent for a moment, then nodded. Prep the shuttle, she ordered. We're going down. The landing was rough. The moon's surface was full of cracks, ash, and strange black rocks that hummed under their boots. As the crew explored the area, Michael's scanner beeped again. Signal's stronger here, he said, leading them toward a small crater. Something metal stuck out of the ground, old, rusted, but clearly man-made. They dug carefully, and what they found stopped them all cold. It was the tail of an old airplane, not a spaceship, not alien, but an actual ancient Earth airplane, half buried and preserved in the cold dust. Michael brushed the dirt off the metal, revealing faded letters. NR16020. His heart skipped a beat. That's Amelia Earhart's plane, he whispered. The exact number from historical records. The plane she flew when she disappeared in 1937. Before anyone could speak, something moved behind the wreck. Michael raised his flashlight and saw it. A glass pod, half broken, glowing with weak blue lights. Inside was a young alien girl, no older than 12 by human standards, with pale skin and shimmering silver hair. Her arms were wrapped tightly around an object. Michael stepped closer and gasped. It was a photograph, a black and white photo of a human woman. Amelia Earhart. Captain Reyes stepped forward, her voice low. She's alive, she whispered. In stasis, but alive. Michael knelt beside the pod, watching the girl's face. There was something strange yet familiar in her eyes, even closed. He touched the side of the pod. Who are you? He whispered. And why are you holding that photo? Suddenly, the pod hissed. Steam shot out as the glass lid slowly opened. The girl's eyes fluttered open, glowing softly like blue fireflies. Her lips moved, dry and cracked. Then, in perfect English, she said just 6 words. She was taken. Just like me. Everyone froze. Michael's voice was shaky. Who took her? He asked gently. But the girl fainted before she could answer, falling back into the pod with a soft breath. The team stared at each other in stunned silence. Nothing made sense. An Earth pilot from the 1930s, an alien girl in space, a photo, and a signal from a dead moon. They carried the girl to the shuttle, wrapping her in thermal blankets. Michael held onto the photograph, studying Amelia's smiling face. How could she be connected to this alien child after all these years? Captain Reyes looked at the moon one last time as they took off. Whatever happened here, she said slowly, isn't over yet. As they rose into orbit, Michael glanced at the girl again. She looked peaceful, but he could feel it. She had seen things no child should ever see. And she knew something about Amelia Earhart the world had never imagined. The stars outside the window shimmered, but the real mystery was now inside their ship, quiet, breathing, and holding onto a lost piece of human history. Asterisk the alien girl lay silent on the medical table inside the Aurora 17. Her skin glowed faintly under the soft lights. Machines beeped around her, checking her heart, her temperature, and her strange alien biology. Michael sat nearby, staring at the photo she had held so tightly, the picture of Amelia Earhart. It still didn't make sense. Why did an alien child have a picture of a woman who disappeared from Earth nearly 100 years ago? Is she stable? Captain Reyes asked the ship's medic. She's weak but healing, the medic replied. And her brainwaves are unusual. He showed them the scans, patterns, and symbols no human had ever seen. Her mind is active, almost like she's dreaming. Hours passed. Michael couldn't take his eyes off the girl. Then, without warning, her eyes opened wide and glowing again. She gasped, sat up quickly, and looked around in fear. "It's okay," Michael said, gently, stepping closer. "You're safe now." Her eyes focused on him. She tilted her head, confused, as if trying to remember something. Then she whispered in a soft, broken voice, "You are human?" "Yes," Michael nodded. "My name is Michael. What's your name?" She looked down, blinking. After a moment, she whispered, "Sira." Her voice cracked like someone who hadn't spoken in years. "Sira," Michael repeated with a kind smile. "Where are you from?" She looked toward the window of the ship, then back at the photo Michael held in his hand. She pointed to it, her fingers trembling. "Her," she said. "She helped me." "Long ago," Michael froze. "You knew her, Amelia Earhart?" Sira nodded slowly. "I was small," she said, closing her eyes. "Scared. They took me from my sky, brought me to a place with lights. Pain." Her body shivered as if the memory still hurt. "Then she came." Michael and Captain Reyes leaned closer. Sira continued, in her broken English, "She was like you, but not afraid. She sang, she read stories. She told me I would be okay." A tear slid down her cheek. "I called her Amelia." "Like a dream," Michael's voice trembled. "You're saying Amelia was there? Wherever you were held?" "She was kind," Sira whispered. "They didn't like that. She tried to stop them. She protected us." Captain Reyes exchanged a look with Michael. "Us?" She asked carefully. "There were more like you?" Sira nodded. "Children. From stars, all taken. For testing." She struggled to find the right words. "Mind experiments, fear, pain. But Amelia, she gave us hope." The ship went silent. The only sound was the soft hum of the engine and the steady beeping of Sira's heart monitor. Michael couldn't believe what he was hearing. It was like a nightmare, but mixed with something heartbreaking and real. "How did you get here?" he asked. "How did you end up in that pod on the moon?" Sira's voice turned quiet, almost like a whisper of wind. "Fire, sirens. Amelia told me to run. She pushed me into the escape pod." She looked down, her lips shaking. "She closed the door. I never saw her again." Michael's chest tightened. Amelia Earhart had saved this girl, risking her own life. But how had she ended up in space in the first place? "Sira," Michael asked gently, "do you know who took you? Or where they came from?" Her eyes darkened. "They are shadows," she said. "They speak without mouths. They feed on thoughts, on dreams." She looked around, scared. "They still search." Captain Reyes stepped forward, her voice firm but calm. "If they're still out there, we need to know where." Sira suddenly clutched her head and screamed. Images flashed on the monitor beside her, blurry holograms from her mind. A black lab full of tubes, sharp tools, and children crying, and Amelia standing in front of a machine, arms spread wide, trying to block a group of strange tall beings with glowing blue eyes. Then, the final image. A dark planet with one glowing red symbol in the sky. Michael froze. "I've seen that symbol," he whispered. "It's on the edge of the star charts, marked as a no-fly zone." Sira collapsed back into the bed, sweating, breathing hard. but she managed to whisper one last thing. "She's there. Still somewhere, Captain." Reyes looked at Michael. "If this is true, if Earhart is somehow alive or her mind still exists, we have to find her." Michael nodded, his jaw clenched. He stared at the image on the monitor of that forbidden planet. He knew what they had to do. They had to go where no one else dared go. To the place where Amelia was last seen alive. But whatever waited there wasn't going to let them leave again easily. As the stars passed outside the ship's window, Sierra whispered again in her sleep, "Don't let them take you too." 3 days had passed since Sierra whispered the truth, that Amelia Earhart, the woman Earth believed lost forever, was taken by a race of dark creatures and hidden on a forbidden planet. Now the Aurora 17 was headed directly into that zone. A place marked on every human star map as unreachable and dangerous. No ship had ever returned from there. Captain Reyes stood in the control room, arms folded, staring at the map. The symbol pulsed on the screen like a heartbeat, red and cold. It didn't even have a name, just a number. Sector 9 Delta Black. "We're risking everything for a ghost," she muttered. Michael turned from the pilot's seat. "She's not a ghost," he said firmly. "She's history. She's a human legacy, and maybe she's still alive." Behind them, Sierra sat curled up in a chair, wrapped in a thermal blanket. She was still weak, but stronger than before. Sometimes she spoke softly to herself in alien words, but other times she stared into the stars like she was searching for someone. "We have one shot," Michael said, checking coordinates. "If we miss the orbit window, we'll be pulled into the gravity field and crushed." "Then don't miss," Reyes replied with a dry smirk. As the ship neared the forbidden planet, strange things began to happen. The lights on board flickered. The navigation screen started showing symbols instead of numbers, and the crew heard faint sounds, whispers, coming through the ship's radio. Michael tried to trace the interference, but what he found sent chills down his spine. The signal wasn't random. It was repeating 3 words in a loop. "Help her, please." Over and over, in Amelia's voice. He played it back for the crew. "That's her," he said, stunned. "That's really her voice." Sierra stood suddenly, her eyes glowing faintly. "She calls. She's still in the cage." "What cage?" Reyes asked, walking closer. Sierra raised her hand and pointed to the screen. "There," she said. "The place where time stops and fear never sleeps." As they entered orbit, the view from the window changed. The planet below was pitch black, except for one deep red glow at its center, a tower tall, cracked, and surrounded by broken ships of different alien races. It looked like a junkyard. Or a graveyard. Michael stared at it. "That must be the lab," he said quietly. The crew took the shuttle and landed near the base of the tower. Everything was silent, too silent. Even the wind didn't move, and there was no sign of life. As they walked toward the entrance, the door opened by itself. A cold mist slid out, wrapping around their boots like fingers. Inside, the walls were made of smooth, black stone that shimmered in the dark. Alien symbols ran along the walls, glowing red as they passed. They seemed to react to Sierra's presence. "This place knows me," Sierra whispered, her hand gently brushing one wall. Suddenly, a large holographic image appeared in front of them. It showed a tall alien creature with glowing blue eyes, speaking in a voice that shook the floor. It said one sentence in perfect English. "You've come too far, human. Go back. This place eats hope." Captain Reyes raised her blaster, ready for a fight. But Michael stepped forward. "We're here for her," he said firmly. "We're here for Amelia." The hologram changed. Now it showed a young Amelia standing inside a glass room, her face bruised but brave. She held hands with a small alien girl, Sierra. Then the image faded. Sierra gasped, tears in her eyes. She stayed behind. "To keep us safe." They continued forward, deeper into the tower. They found empty rooms filled with broken cages, rusted machines, and scratched-up walls. Children's drawings were carved into metal, some of stars, others of a woman flying. An airplane. All signs pointed to one thing. Amelia had been there. She had comforted them. She had resisted the darkness. Then they reached a massive door covered in alien locks. Sira stepped forward and placed her hand on it. The locks clicked open with a loud hiss. The door creaked open to reveal a room glowing with blue light inside. Was a strange device, a cube of energy floating in the air, and inside it, the figure of a woman, suspended like a memory. She looked older than the photo, but it was her, Amelia Earhart, still wearing part of her flight jacket, still holding something tight in her hand. A small journal. Michael stepped forward, breath caught in his throat. "She's here," he whispered. "She's really here." But just as he reached toward the cube, the floor shook violently. An alarm blared, and a voice filled the room. In the alien tongue, Sira's face turned pale. "They know," she said, trembling. "The shadows are waking." Asterisk. The room trembled as warning sirens echoed from the alien walls. Michael stepped back from the glowing cube that held Amelia. Sira grabbed his hand, her voice shaky. "They're coming," she whispered. "The shadows, they never sleep." Captain Reyes raised her weapon, scanning the dark hall behind them. "We need to move now," she said. "If these things are waking up, we can't be trapped here." But Michael didn't move. He was still staring at Amelia's form inside the energy cube. Her eyes were closed, but her face looked calm, almost like she was dreaming. Sira walked slowly to the cube, her hand hovering near it. "She saved us," she said softly. "She gave herself to stop the machine." "What machine?" Reyes asked, her eyes flicking between them in the doorway, where distant mechanical footsteps were growing louder. Sira turned to them. "This was not a prison for her," she said. "This was a weapon meant to erase minds, collect souls." She pointed to the cube. "They used it to trap voices, emotions, memories. Amelia broke the machine by offering herself." Michael felt his throat tighten. "You're saying she volunteered? She chose this?" Sira nodded, she said. "If someone remembers me, I'll still be alive." A single tear ran down her cheek. She wanted the truth to be known someday. Reyes moved closer, frowning. "Why would they do this? What do these creatures even want?" Sira looked at the wall, where strange symbols were pulsing again. "They fear humans," she said. "Your mind is strong. It resists their control." She placed both hands on the cube, and the room changed. A blue mist filled the air, and suddenly, memories began to appear. Holograms formed all around them. Pieces of Amelia's story trapped in the device. The first image showed Amelia's airplane flying over the Pacific Ocean. Suddenly, a tear in the sky opened, a wormhole, glowing violet. Her plane vanished into it, without warning. The next image. Amelia wakes up in a strange white room, surrounded by tall beings with glowing blue eyes and no mouths. She is confused, scared, but not broken. Another scene. She is placed in a room with dozens of alien children, all afraid. She sits beside them, teaches them English, draws pictures of Earth. She hums songs, tells stories, holds their hands. She becomes a mother to them, even though she's a prisoner too. Then comes the final memory. The lab shakes from an explosion, red lights flash. Amelia pushes the children into escape pods, one by one. She shouts to them, "Remember who you are. Don't let them take your mind." She seals the last pod, Sira's, and then turns to face the glowing cube. Stepping into it willingly, she smiles as the machine activates, her body glowing with white light. Then darkness. The memory ends. Michael fell to his knees, stunned. "She was a hero," he whispered. "They called her missing, but she was out here saving lives." Reyes looked pale. "And all we did was forget her," she said bitterly. "No one believed she could have survived." Sira turned to them. "She kept us alive," she said. "She gave us courage. And now she sleeps, so others may wake." Suddenly, the walls began to melt and reshape. A deep growl echoed through the tower. Sierra screamed. "The shadows are breaking through. They sense your minds." The door behind them opened with a crash. Dark, tall figures stepped in, made of smoke and glowing bones. They moved like liquid, eyes burning like blue fire. Reyes fired her blaster, but the shots passed through them. "They're not solid," she shouted, backing up. Michael grabbed Sierra's arm. "How do we stop them?" Sierra pointed to the cube. "She is the key. Release her, or we all stay here forever." Michael looked at the cube's energy core. There was a control panel below it, covered in alien symbols. Sierra rushed to it and placed her hand on it, speaking in the language Amelia taught her. The cube began to crack. Light spilled out, blinding everyone. The shadows screamed and pulled back, covering their eyes. The cube shattered completely, and Amelia's body fell forward, caught by Michael just in time. Her breathing was slow but real. She opened her eyes slightly, whispering, "Did someone come?" Michael smiled, tears in his eyes. "Yes, we came." The shadows let out one final shriek and vanished. The energy that held them together was broken. Amelia had been the anchor. Now she was free. Sierra collapsed to the floor, exhausted. Reyes helped her up, then turned to Michael. "We have to get out of here before this place collapses." He nodded, still holding Amelia carefully. "Let's bring her home." As they rushed toward the shuttle, alarms echoed behind them. The lab was falling apart, the walls cracking, floors crumbling, but they didn't stop. Sierra looked back once at the place where nightmares had lived, and she whispered. She kept the light alive, even in the darkest place. They reached the ship just as the tower exploded behind them. The forbidden zone was gone, but the story was far from over, because the world had forgotten Amelia Earhart, and now she was coming back. The Aurora 17 soared away from the collapsing tower. From the window, the crew watched as the ancient alien lab crumbled into dust. The sky above the Forbidden planet was no longer red. The glowing symbol had vanished, as if the evil inside it had finally been released. Michael sat in the medbay, holding Amelia's hand. She was alive but fragile. Her skin was pale, her lips dry, and her heartbeat slow. Yet her mind was trying to wake up, and every now and then, her fingers would twitch, as if remembering how to fly again. Sierra sat beside her, whispering stories. She told Amelia what had happened after she was trapped. She spoke of how the escape pods scattered, how she drifted in space alone until her pod crashed into the forgotten moon, how she had dreamed of the woman with the warm voice, the one who had told her bedtime stories in a cold prison. Reyes entered the medbay, carrying a small black box. "We found this," she said, placing it on the table. It was covered in alien dust, but clearly human-made. Michael opened it carefully, and inside was Amelia's flight journal. Still sealed, still intact. He opened the first page and read the handwriting. July 2nd, 1937. "I don't know where I am. The stars are wrong. The sky is not Earth's. If someone finds this, I am not dead." Michael's throat tightened. Each page told a story, how she had been taken, how she fought to survive, and how she had tried to protect others. It was more than a journal. It was a witness to truth. A truth Earth never knew. Later, Michael walked to the command deck, where Rhea stood staring at the map. "We're not done," she said. "Look," the red symbol had disappeared from the map, but in its place was something new, a signal, faint but pulsing. It was coming from beneath the surface of the destroyed planet, from something still buried deep inside. "That lab wasn't the main system," Rhea said, her voice grim. "It was just the top." Michael zoomed in, and there it was, a second structure, shaped like a massive heart, still alive, still beating. "The core," he whispered. "It's still active," Reyes nodded. "And if that core is what powered the machine that trapped Amelia, then there might be more." They landed again, this time deeper inside the planet's cracks. The terrain was strange, twisted rock formations, glowing vines and echoing winds that seemed to whisper names. Sierra held Michael's hand tightly. "This is the place I saw in dreams," she said, "where they kept the voices of many." At the center of the valley, they found a gate ancient, massive, and pulsing with blue energy. As they stepped through it, the air grew heavy. Their thoughts slowed, and strange memories entered their minds, memories that were not their own. Michael heard a voice in his head. A pilot crying out during a crash, a child whispering for her mother, a soldier screaming in an unknown language. "This place. It collects memories," Rhea said, pressing a hand to her head. "Thousands of souls." Then she froze and whispered, "Some of them are human." They reached the heart of the core, a living machine, glowing and breathing like a giant lung. It pulsed with trapped emotions, each beat stronger than the last. Sira stepped forward, and the machine reacted. To her, a platform rose in the center, revealing hundreds of small glowing cubes. Each one hummed softly voices, songs, even laughter trapped inside. But at the center was a gold cube, larger than the others. "That one," Sira said. "It holds her final memory." Michael approached slowly. The cube lit up, and a hologram of Amelia appeared. She was smiling, but tears ran down her face. "If anyone sees this, know that we are more than our bodies," she said. "I was not alone in the darkness. If you are human, set them free." Michael looked around at the other cubes. What if we could free them all? He asked, what if she wasn't the only one? Reyes stepped beside him. "We don't have time," she warned. "This place won't stay stable forever." Suddenly, the machine's core turned red. An alarm echoed through the chamber deep. Low and angry, the core had detected them. Sira cried out. "It knows we want to free them. It's locking down." Michael looked around, desperate. Then he saw a control panel connected to the heart of the machine. It looked like it needed 2 keys to unlock one human, one alien. He turned to Sira. "Can you do it?" he asked. She hesitated, then nodded. Together, they placed their hands on the controls. A surge of energy passed through them, blinding light, cold wind, and voices all at once. Then silence. The cubes began to vanish one by one into the air, as if the trapped souls were finally going home. The gold cube vanished last, and for a brief moment, Amelia's voice whispered again. "Thank you." Sira collapsed into Michael's arms, weak but smiling. "It's done," she said. "She's free now. And so are the others." Reyes looked up at the ceiling, where the stars now shone through a broken wall. "The core that breathed fear is finally silent," she said as they left the chamber. The machine behind them crumbled like ash in the wind, and the planet, once feared and forgotten, was now nothing but dust under the stars. But the truth, the real truth, was going back to Earth with them, and nothing would ever be the same again. Back on the Aurora 17, the medbay was quiet. Amelia Earhart lay resting, her eyes still closed. But now, her breathing was calm, her skin warmer. It was like something inside her had been released, like a storm had passed. Michael sat beside her, gently turning the pages of her journal. Each page told a piece of her strange life in alien hands. Each word was written with strength, even as she described pain. Even in the darkness she had hope. Captain Reyes entered, holding a datapad. "The core is gone," she said softly. "Whatever energy kept that nightmare alive, it's finished." Michael nodded without looking up. "But the question remains," he said. "What happens when she wakes up?" As if those words reached her, Amelia stirred. Her fingers twitched slightly, then her lips parted. Michael leaned in closer, and then her eyes opened. They weren't glowing like before. They were human eyes, tired, confused, and full of questions. She blinked slowly, her voice a quiet whisper. "Where am I?" "You're safe," Michael said with a warm smile. "You're aboard a ship, Aurora 17, a human vessel. We found you." She looked around slowly, trying to understand. "I thought I was gone," she said. "I thought I became part of the machine." Michael gently took her hand. "You did. But you also survived," he said. "You saved Sira. You saved others. And now you're back. Tears welled up in her eyes. How long? She asked. How long have I been trapped? Michael paused. It's 2036, he said softly. You disappeared in 1937, she gasped and covered her mouth. 99 years. She whispered, Oh my God. Sira entered the room quietly. When Amelia saw her, her face lit up not with fear but joy. Sira, she said with a trembling voice, You made it. Sira ran to her side and hugged her tightly. You saved me, she said. I remembered your stories. Your kindness. I never forgot. Amelia held her close, crying softly. I was so afraid I'd failed you, she said. But you grew strong. So strong. Later, Amelia sat in the command room with the crew. Wrapped in a blanket, she stared out at the stars that had become her prison. She listened quietly as Reyes told her about Earth's history, about the wars, the peace, the space age, the people who searched for her. And then gave up. They thought I crashed, Amelia said. They thought I died in the ocean, she chuckled softly. If only they knew I was light years away, raising alien children and fighting shadow monsters. You were more than a pilot, Michael said. You became a legend even before we knew the truth. Amelia looked down at her hands. They changed me, she said. Not just in the mind. I can feel it. My body isn't fully human anymore. Michael glanced at Reyes, then back at her. The machine kept your mind alive for nearly a century. It must have fused your biology with their tech. Amelia gave a sad smile. I guess I'm the first. Cyborg grandma. Everyone laughed softly, even Sira. But then Amelia grew serious. I need to know something, she said. Did they win? The creatures, the shadows. Did they escape? No, Reyes said firmly. You were the key. When we freed you, they lost their power. The core collapsed. They're gone. Amelia leaned back, her eyes heavy. For so long. I was alone. But knowing you came, that someone believed, even after so long. She paused, her voice choking. I'm not alone anymore. That night, Michael couldn't sleep. He stood by the observation window, looking out at the stars. A faint reflection appeared beside him. It was Amelia. I used to fly by looking at clouds, she said softly. Now look at us. Floating through galaxies, he smiled. Your disappearance was always a mystery, he said. No one ever thought it ended with aliens and mind prisons. Amelia laughed lightly. I was trying to break a world record, she said. Instead, I broke reality. Michael turned to her. What do you want to do now? He asked. You're free. We're going back to Earth. You'll be famous again. But her smile faded. Michael, I don't know if I belong there anymore, she said. The world has changed. I've changed. I've been gone longer than I ever lived, he nodded. You're not the same, he said. But maybe Earth needs to hear your story, even if they don't understand it. She looked down. There's something else, she said. The core. It wasn't the only one. There were other labs, other planets. They're watching. Waiting, Michael tensed. You mean the shadows might return? Amelia nodded slowly. They were part of something bigger, she whispered. And I think they saw you, Michael. They saw that you resisted, that you fought for someone not like you. He looked at her with wide eyes. Are you saying I'm a target now? No, she said. You're a threat to them. Because humans have heart, and they fear. That most, suddenly, a soft beeping came from the CUM station. A message had arrived. Michael opened it. It was an encrypted signal from Earth. But it wasn't from a government. It was from a little girl's name written in Morse code. Aziara followed by one phrase, We are not alone. Michael looked at Amelia, who smiled softly. They're still out there, she said. But now. So are we, asterisk. The Aurora 17 entered Earth's orbit for the first time in over 4 months. But for Michael, Sira, and especially Amelia, this return felt like coming back from the dead. Earth below looked beautiful and peaceful, a blue and green world that had long forgotten what happened to a woman who once flew into the sky and never returned. Now she was returning, changed, tired, older but alive. A name pulled from history books was now walking and breathing once more. News spread fast. Amelia Earhart found alive in space after 99 years. The media called it a miracle. But the truth was far more terrifying than anyone could imagine. Governments demanded answers. Scientists begged to study her. Some thought it was a hoax, others whispered conspiracy theories. Amelia stood calmly before a crowd of world leaders, historians, and journalists. She wore a simple flight jacket and held her old journal in her hands. Her voice was quiet, but every ear leaned in to hear her. "Was not lost," she said. "I was taken. But I didn't give up." She told them about the shadows, the alien labs, the children, the core that stole minds, and about Sira. When Sira walked onto the stage beside her, small and shy, the crowd fell silent. They had never seen anything like her, an alien child who looked like a girl but spoke with the grace of someone wise beyond her years. "This is what saved me," Amelia said, placing her hand on Sira's shoulder. "Not the machines, not the tech. This child remembered me. That's why I'm here." Some believed, some didn't, but none could ignore the truth in Amelia's eyes. Back on the ship, Michael stared at the stars again. He didn't feel like a pilot anymore. He felt like a guardian of secrets, of truths too big for Earth to fully accept. Sira sat beside him, swinging her legs. "Will I stay here?" she asked softly. Michael turned to her. "Do you want to?" She looked out the window, then at the people walking around the spaceport below. "They smile," she said, "but their eyes are afraid." Michael nodded slowly. "They've never seen someone like you, but fear doesn't mean hate. It just means they don't understand yet." She tilted her head. "Will you help them understand?" Michael gave a small smile. "I'll try," he said, "if you'll help me." Sira nodded quickly, her eyes glowing gently. "Okay." Days later, Amelia stood in a private room, watching as Earth's leaders argued over what to do next. Some wanted to prepare for a possible invasion. Some wanted to erase her story, hide it from the public. Some wanted to turn her into a symbol of hope. But no one asked her what she wanted. She turned away from the window and walked to a quiet hallway. Michael was waiting for her there. "They want to use you," he said, "as a hero. Or a warning. Or both." Amelia sighed. "I'm tired of being a story," she said. "I just want to be real." Michael nodded. "There's one thing left," he said. "The signal. The one we got from Sira's old pod." Amelia looked at him with surprise. "I thought all the labs were destroyed." "Not all," he said, holding up the datapad. "One last signal. Weak, but it's there. Could be survivors." Amelia took a deep breath. "They'll never stop, will they?" she asked. "The ones who do this. They'll keep trying." Michael shrugged. "Then we keep stopping them." She smiled faintly. "Are you asking me to come with you?" "I'm not going without you," he replied. Sira peeked around the corner, already holding her small backpack. "I packed snacks," she said proudly. Amelia laughed for the first time in days. "All right," she said. "One last flight." The Aurora 17 launched quietly. No cameras this time, no parades. Just a small crew with a big mission. Follow the final signal, find the last lab, and if needed, finish what they started. Inside the ship, Amelia sat in the pilot's seat again. Her fingers brushed the controls gently. She turned to Michael, who sat beside her, and smiled. "Feels strange," she said, "like I'm flying again. After so long." "You never stopped," Michael replied. "You were just flying in a different sky." As they passed the moon and headed into deep space again, Sira looked out the window. She pointed to a distant star, blinking faintly. "There," she said. "That's where the voice came from." Michael checked the chart. It was a system no human had ever visited, but now it would hold the next chapter of their story back on Earth. A child stared at the sky through a telescope. He saw a streak of light pass silently across the stars. He didn't know what it was, but he felt something stir inside him, a whisper. A name! Amelia. She had once disappeared into the unknown. Now she returned with an alien child and a human heart stronger than steel. She was no longer just a pilot. She was a symbol of what humanity could be: brave, kind, and unbreakable. And somewhere in the stars, that legacy would live on forever.